Welcome back to Conflict of Interest. Tonight we're talking about asylum seekers, and our guest is Pamela Curr, very well-known refugee advocate from the Asylum Seeker Resource Centre. Welcome, Pamela. Firstly, I love that. I've got to say, that scarf is blinding me. It's brilliant. It's a nice sort of, what was that, emerald green?
I think you could call it that.
Right. All right. Well, we'll call it emerald green. Tell me, the recent influx, in inverted commas, of boat people, what do you say it reflects? Do you say it reflects changed border policies on the part of the government?
Well, work it out herself.
Hang on, I'm not. Hang on.
She's the expert. Just ask her.
Or alternatively, does it reflect? You're in a terrific mood tonight. Or does it reflect?
Come on. Let's get to the end of the question.
Or does it reflect the Howard government's approach?
Well, let's look at reality. On the ground, 12% increase in global movements of asylum seekers. Australia is going to factor into that as one of the refugee intake countries. Then you look at the hard stats. 17 people, 3 years ago, 17 Afghans went into Indonesia, went up to UNHCR and sought refugee protection. The next year, 174, tenfold increase. Last year, over 480.
So how big is it going to get? It's going to be thousands, isn't it?
I don't think so.
Well, look, we've got Pakistan is imploding. There's going to be a massive increase in Pakistani. And Tamils from Sri Lanka are greatly going to increase. At least now that's just two countries. Iraq will continue to provide a considerable supply.
They're key, yes.
They're the key areas. Now, they're going to get bigger and bigger and bigger in numbers, aren't they?
Then you've got to look at the reality on the ground, Peter.
No, that's what I'm saying, but that's the reality, isn't it?
The reality on the ground is most people do not set off for Australia. Most people sit on their borders and hope things get better.
People who go to
home.
Indonesia set off for Australia because that's why they're in Indonesia.
Yep, you know
and the numbers
why?
are small.
Because they've knocked on the door in Islamabad and the Australian Embassy is not open for business. So where do they go from there? They go through to Indonesia. I had a bloke on the phone the other night. He rang Sydney and got advice from a lawyer who said, you've got to go to UNHCR. He looked on the map and he said, the only place I can go is Indonesia.
So how many people are we going to have coming here? It's going to be thousands, isn't it?
Well, hang on.
I'm not in the business of guessing.
Let's put some reality around this. Australia last year took 4,750 asylum seekers, who made application.
Yeah.
The US, 49,000. Canada, 36,000. 35,000 in France, 31,000 in Italy and 30,000 in the UK. The numbers in Australia are small, mainly because of the geographic position of Australia.
We're in the lowest, we're so low in that report that we only figure 3 times. We're not even in the top 10
and we never have been.
countries.
We never have been.
It is too hard to get here, but that's not the subject for discussion. I heard you before and I was thinking, you're a funny sort of lawyer, mate. Don't you believe in the international conventions?
Which international conventions?
The UN Convention
They're not law here.
The refugee
convention here.
We have signed.
It's not domestic law.
It's not domestic law.
Quite right. It's not domestic law.
So you don't know what you're talking about when you don't criticise me for being getting the law wrong when you don't know what you're talking about.
We have signed.
It is not domestic law here.
No, it's not. But we signed the convention.
It doesn't matter. It's not law here. I'm telling you.
So it doesn't matter if you sign something and say you're going to abide by it. It doesn't account for anything.
No.
No, well, that's not quite right, Peter. You know that.
In law it doesn't.
No, that's not quite right.
No, in law it doesn't. But there is also a moral law.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Well, you're criticising me for being getting the law wrong. I've got the law right. You don't know what you're talking about.
Not criticising you, just having a crack at you.
Well, you said I'm a funny sort of lawyer who doesn't understand
That's
about
the worst thing you can say to him.
Well, I'll say what you like. I really don't give a stuff.
Well, I tell you what. We signed those conventions in good faith. We signed them in good faith
and we should abide by them. That doesn't mean that boat people are entitled to come to this country.
But it means they're entitled to make an application. That's what international law says.
No, it means...
Under the convention it says we will not punish them for the mode of their arrival. And we won't punish them because they don't arrive with papers.
Do you support Christmas Island being exiled?
No.
Do you know why they don't arrive with papers?
Because they don't have them.
Yeah, do you know, well, that's a really good, honest answer.
No, because they don't have them.
That's a really good, honest answer.
They don't have them.
They haven't got them because they haven't got them.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, that's...
and how many refugee camps have you been
to? And why haven't they got them?
Well, if you're a bloke in Kabul and you've got to get out in a hurry, where do you go?
They destroy them in Indonesia. That's what they're told to do.
Some of them do.
By the people smugglers, aren't they?
They pay for the papers to get to Indonesia and then they hand them over.
And,
yes,
and they
do.
destroy their papers in Indonesia, which makes it very difficult to send them back because there's
That's
no
right.
papers and you
That's
don't know
right.
who they are.
If you were
And
a
that's
refugee
okay, is it?
running, would you run in with your
And you're-
papers and say, listen, mate, here I am. It's cost me everything to get here. Now you can send me back because I'm going to give you my papers.
And you support
no
that
way.
conduct, do you?
Of course I do.
Okay,
So do I.
so when you...
So do I.
Presumably you counsel refugees or potential refugees?
No, that's not my role.
You don't ever do that? You never speak to them?
I certainly speak to them, but I don't counsel.
She's not a legal
I'm not
advisor.
a lawyer. I don't assume that responsibility.
People can... Counsel doesn't necessarily mean lawyers. You have a bit of trouble with the English language, don't you? A psychologist can counsel someone. You don't need to be just a lawyer to counsel someone.
Well, the way you put it, though, I think what you're getting at is, do you tell people to break the law? I think that's where you're going.
Did I say that?
Well, you were going to go there.
No, but it's quite okay for you. You'd advise these people, look, if you want a better chance, destroy your papers, wouldn't you?
No,
I'm never in that position.
I wasn't asking you.
you'd never do it.
See, why won't you let her answer the question herself? You're
You
afraid she's
won't
going to
do
give
it.
the wrong...
We're just trying to get a word in because you
I
dominated the
did
segment.
answer it. I said I've never been in that position.
So you've never told anyone that?
No, I've never been in that position.
What do you mean in that position?
Where somebody's contacted me and said, listen, I'm in Tullamarine Airport, I've just arrived here, I've got a set of dodgy documents, I don't know what to do. Do I destroy my papers or do I go
but
to
don't you routinely tell people they will have a better chance of staying if they destroy their papers?
No, I don't.
That's what you believe, isn't it? You believe that's the case.
You asked me if I routinely tell people
Yeah,
that.
and then I'm asking you another question, which is, that's what you believe, that they have a better chance if they destroy their papers.
That is the reality.
But that's
No.
okay, it's the reality.
The reality
That's
is
the
if
reality.
you don't have documents, you cannot be returned
Yes.
to your country.
So you've got a better chance of staying here if you don't have documents.
only in the absolute.
You have a better
First
chance of
instance.
staying
Well, hang on,
here.
Peter, let her answer the question.
In the first instance, yes, but then of
Yes.
course you have to go through the refugee process.
Okay.
And if you don't
then
have
you may
grounds,
get caught, you may not.
no, it doesn't
It's
work
harder
like
for the
that.
government if there's no documents, isn't
There
it?
are 5 refugee grounds, as you know,
It's-
and if you don't
It's
have a
harder
valid
if
claim,
there's no documents, isn't there?
no, it's not. Nonsense.
So you don't tell these people to get rid of their documents, even though you think
Peter,
that's
I
better for them.
think, Peter,
I just
let
don't
me just
believe
come
it.
in
I
on
don't
that.
know
Let
that
me
this
come
is the
in-
important
Let me
point.
come in
I
on
just
that.
don't
If you
believe
read refugee review tribunal cases, and even those cases that then go higher, you'll find that even people who don't have papers, there's still enormous independent investigations of their position. And I have seen cases where people, even though they didn't have papers, it hasn't helped them.
So Pamela, just ignoring that and moving on,
Yeah.
Because you don't like the answer. You're fired up tonight.
it's stupid. You give stupid answers, I'm going to ignore them. Or statements.
Can I do the same to you?
I don't care what you do, Greg. You do what you want.
Fantastic.
Now, I've now lost my train of thought, thanks
Oh,
very much.
no.
I'm listening.
The people
waiting.
who do land in Australia or Christmas Island, they should. Your position would be that they should be immediately released into the Australian community.
Ideally, my position is that the boat people, when they arrive here, should go into hostel accommodation similar to the Vietnamese boat people. They didn't step off the boats
No,
with
I'm just asking
passports.
what should happen
and
to
I'm
them.
just
Hang on,
telling
she's
you.
answering the question.
They arrive here, they should be accommodated and they go through a health
On
and
the
security
mainland?
and on the mainland.
Not in the detention centre at Christmas Island.
No.
No.
A
So
health,
you mean on the mainland?
security and identity check.
Yep.
And then they are
And that
released.
should only take a very short time, shouldn't it?
Yes.
Like a few days.
In the ideal situation, yes, there
And then,
may be
and
occasion.
then released into the community.
And if they are found not to have cause any grounds for concern, released into the community
On a visa.
on a bridging visa while they are processed and while their claim is assessed. If they don't have a
So
claim, they go
this
home.
means
If
that
they do have
nobody
a claim,
should...
they
What do you
stay.
mean if they don't have a claim, they go home? How do they go home?
They get
an airplane, do they?
They get on a
They
plane
sure do.
and
Where do
go
they get
home.
the money from to do that?
Sometimes
The
they
government
have
pays for
money
them.
and sometimes they don't.
Sometimes the government pays
This
for them.
government will never deport anyone. Has it deported anyone?
Yep,
this government?
sure has.
How many?
It sure has. Quite a number of people. Every year, Peter,
This-
there are... Just hang on.
We've only had a year of this.
Every
government.
year, Peter, there are an enormous number of people deported because they overstay their visas. They're
No.
generally-
I'm
They're
not
generally
talking
English
about that.
backpackers.
I'm not talking
but they're
about
okay.
that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the boat people.
What's the difference? These
What's
are
the difference?
people
They're
who
all
are
under the
unlawfully
same
in the
system.
community.
They're all under the same
There's a
system.
big difference because
What's the
ones that the Australian public are concerned about are the ones that I'm concerned about, which is the potential flood of boat people.
So are you not concerned about people?
Wait a
We're not
minute, wait a
debating-
minute.
we're
The
not debating English
174 boat
backpackers.
people who arrived here last
That's
year.
what we're concerned about.
174, and there are 4,750 asylum seekers living in the community, causing no problem whatsoever, and we're not worried about them at all. But we're
Well,
going
the
to
Australian
concentrate
public
on 174
are.
boat
That's
I'm not
right.
sure that
That's
that
right.
they are as worried as
I
They
don't
are,
think they're as
and
worried
I
as
don't
they
think
used
so,
to be.
Peter. I think
A little political leadership has allowed the Australian public to stand back and take a good look.
Yeah, well, we have to have a break now, and sadly, we have to let you go. So,
Well, that was short and sweet.
yeah,
Sure,
well,
that's
it was
right.
actually the full time. We have a 10-minute segment. So we'll be back in a minute.